Welcome to another episode of True Crime Story Vault. In today's episode, we unravel a chilling tale of forbidden love, deceit, and murder in the quaint town of Applewood, Colorado. The story you're about to hear is one of dark secrets, raw emotions, and a brutal conclusion that shook this peaceful community to its core. In the tranquil town of Baxter Springs, a place where gossip traveled faster than the wind and everyone knew each other's business, the McAllister family was celebrated for their apparent perfection. Mark McAllister was a prominent local entrepreneur, running a successful construction company that had contributed to the town's growth. His reputation for integrity and generosity made him a pillar of the community. His wife, Laura, was a respected elementary school teacher, known for her kindness and dedication to her students. Their daughter, Emily, was the town's pride, a vivacious 17-year-old high school senior with a reputation for her athletic prowess and sunny disposition. Their life, it seemed, was the embodiment of suburban bliss. However, this facade of perfection was about to crack, setting the stage for an unexpected tragedy. The incident that would upend their seemingly flawless existence began on a crisp September evening in 2020. Emily McAllister, fresh off a day of school, was attending a high school football game, a local event that drew the entire town. The air was filled with the excitement of a Friday night game, the smell of popcorn and hot dogs wafting through the stands as the crowd roared with each play. Emily, decked out in her cheerleading uniform, was at the heart of the action, her cheers blending into the cacophony of enthusiastic voices. It was during this lively game that Tyler Grant, a newcomer to Baxter Springs, made his first impression. Tyler had recently moved from a neighboring town, his family having relocated due to his father's new job. He was standing alone, a figure with an air of quiet mystery, his intense gaze fixed on the field. With a striking combination of rugged good looks and an almost aloof demeanor, Tyler seemed to draw Emily's attention like a magnet. "Hey, I don't think I've seen you around before," Emily said, her voice carrying over the noise of the crowd as she approached Tyler with a friendly smile. Tyler turned, his eyes meeting hers with a curious blend of intrigue and detachment. "Yeah, I just moved here. Thought I'd check out the game," he replied, his voice smooth and confident. "You're really into football, huh?" Emily chuckled, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Yeah, my dad's the coach." "So what brings you to Baxter Springs?" Tyler's expression was nonchalant, but his gaze remained fixed on Emily. "Family stuff. My dad got a new job here. It's been a bit of a whirlwind, but I guess I'm getting used to it." Their conversation flowed effortlessly, and Tyler's charm quickly became apparent. Emily was captivated by his easygoing demeanor and the hint of mystery that surrounded him. As the game continued, they found themselves drawn to each other, their exchange of glances and laughter standing out amidst the backdrop of the game's intensity. Over the next few weeks, Tyler and Emily grew closer. They were often seen together around town, walking through the park, grabbing coffee at the local cafe, or simply enjoying each other's company. Emily's friends noticed the change in her demeanor. She seemed happier, more animated, and entirely smitten with Tyler. Despite the outward appearances, there was an undercurrent of tension that Mark McAllister could sense. He noticed the growing number of Tyler's visits to their home and felt a vague sense of unease. One evening, as Tyler left their house after a family dinner, Mark couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this young man than met the eye. "Emily," Mark said with a serious tone as he sat her down in the living room, "I've been meaning to ask, who exactly is this Tyler Grant? I don't know much about him, and I'd like to." Emily's face flushed slightly. "Dad, Tyler's just a friend. We're getting close, but he's a good person. Really." Mark's gaze was stern but concerned. "I want to meet him properly. I need to know who's spending so much time with my daughter." Reluctantly, Emily agreed, and a few days later, Tyler joined the McAllister family for dinner. The evening was a mixture of polite conversation and underlying tension. Laura McAllister, ever the gracious host, engaged Tyler in friendly conversation, while Mark watched him with a scrutinizing eye. Tyler was smooth and articulate, effortlessly charming Laura with anecdotes about his previous town and his adjustment to Baxter Springs. Mark, however, remained skeptical. He couldn't quite put his finger on it, but something about Tyler's demeanor didn't sit right with him. It was as if Tyler was playing a role, putting on a facade to gain their trust. As weeks passed, the relationship between Emily and Tyler deepened. They appeared inseparable, with Tyler often seen accompanying Emily to school events and social gatherings. Tyler's presence became a constant in Emily's life, but there were subtle signs that something was amiss. Unbeknownst to Emily and her family, Tyler Grant was harboring secrets that would soon come to light. His background was murky, and his reasons for moving to Baxter Springs were far from ordinary. Behind his charming exterior lay a darker side, one that would eventually lead to devastating consequences for the McAllister family. The once perfect lives of Mark, Laura, and Emily McAllister were about to be shattered, revealing a web of deceit and betrayal that would change their world forever. As the leaves of Baxter Springs turned golden and the nights grew colder, Emily McAllister and Tyler Grant's relationship blossomed with an intensity that was both exhilarating and consuming. The couple spent every free moment together, their days filled with laughter and stolen glances. They were often seen at the local diner, sharing milkshakes and secrets, or strolling hand in hand through the quiet streets of their small town. To the outside world, they were the epitome of young love, but beneath the surface of their seemingly perfect romance lay an unsettling reality. Tyler's charm had quickly won over Emily, but his arrival in Baxter Springs was far from innocent. Unbeknownst to her, Tyler had a history that was anything but clean. He had a criminal past that he had managed to keep hidden, a fact that would soon unravel the delicate fabric of the McAllister family's life. His reasons for moving to Baxter Springs were shrouded in secrecy, and his past was a dark stain he desperately tried to keep concealed. Mark McAllister, Emily's father, had been increasingly troubled by Tyler's presence. The young man's frequent visits, coupled with his unspoken charm, set off alarm bells in Mark's mind. While Emily was enchanted by Tyler's attention, Mark's instincts told him that something was amiss. He couldn't quite place his finger on it, but his paternal intuition was far from satisfied. One evening, after Tyler had departed from their home following yet another enjoyable visit, Mark found himself unable to shake his unease. The family's living room, typically a sanctuary of warmth and conversation, now seemed suffused with an air of tension. Mark turned to Emily, his face etched with concern. "Emily," Mark began, his voice laced with a mixture of authority and worry, "I don't want to intrude, but I've been wondering who exactly is Tyler Grant. I don't know much about him, and I'm not entirely comfortable with how much time he's spending here." Emily's cheeks flushed a deep red, her eyes narrowing as she met her father's gaze. "Dad, Tyler is just a friend. We've become close, but he's really a good guy. You don't need to worry." Mark's expression remained stern. "I understand that you care about him, but I think it's important that I get to know him better. For my peace of mind, I need to understand who he is and where he comes from." Despite her irritation, Emily agreed to arrange a dinner with Tyler, hoping to placate her father's concerns. A few days later, the McAllister family prepared for the evening with a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. Laura McAllister, ever the gracious hostess, put on her warmest smile and made every effort to create a welcoming atmosphere. Mark, on the other hand, was less enthusiastic, his internal skepticism a constant undercurrent to the evening's proceedings. When Tyler arrived, he exuded the same effortless charm that had captivated Emily. He greeted Laura with a polite hug and a bouquet of flowers, his easy smile masking the unease he felt under Mark's scrutiny. The dinner table was set with care: a roast, fresh vegetables, and a homemade apple pie, but Mark's thoughts were far from the meal. Throughout the evening, Tyler engaged in conversation with Laura, recounting anecdotes about his recent move and the adjustments he was making. He spoke with an air of genuine interest and warmth, which seemed to win Laura over. Mark, however, was not so easily swayed. He observed Tyler closely, noting every gesture and inflection, searching for any hint of the darkness he suspected lay beneath the surface. As the evening progressed, the conversation meandered through safe topics: school, hobbies, and the weather. Tyler maintained a facade geniality, but Mark could sense a certain guardedness in his responses. The laughter and joviality that Laura and Emily shared with Tyler felt superficial to Mark, who was preoccupied with the nagging sense that something was deeply wrong. The dinner concluded with dessert, and as the evening wore on, Mark's discomfort grew. He couldn't shake the feeling that Tyler was hiding something significant, and the more he observed, the more convinced he became that there was more to this young man than met the eye. When Tyler finally said his goodbyes and left, Mark felt a palpable sense of relief, though his concerns remained unresolved. Later that night, as the house settled into a quiet calm, Mark confided his worries to Laura. "Laura, I'm not sure what it is, but I can't shake the feeling that there is something off about Tyler. He's charming, yes, but there's a guardedness to him that troubles me. I just can't put my finger on what it is." Laura sighed, her expression softening with understanding. "Mark, I know you're concerned, but Emily seems genuinely happy. Tyler's been nothing but polite and respectful when he's been here. Maybe we're just being too suspicious." Mark shook his head. "It's not just that. There's something in the way he talks, the way he avoids certain topics. I can't help but feel that there's more beneath the surface. I think we need to dig a little deeper." Laura looked pensive but agreed to consider Mark's concerns. The following days were marked by an undercurrent of tension as Mark's unease continued to simmer beneath the surface. Emily, oblivious to the full extent of her father's worries, carried on with her relationship with Tyler, growing closer to him with each passing day. Despite Mark's misgivings, the couple's romance continued to flourish. They were frequently seen around town, their affection for one another evident in their every interaction. The local community, ever observant, buzzed with speculation about the new couple in town, but few knew the true nature of Tyler's background. One Saturday, Emily and Tyler decided to take a day trip to a nearby nature reserve. They spent the day hiking and picnicking, their laughter echoing through the trees. As the sun began to set, they found a quiet spot to watch the sunset, sharing their hopes and dreams as the sky turned shades of pink and orange. "I never thought I'd find someone like you," Emily said, her voice filled with sincerity. "It feels like everything just clicked when we met." Tyler smiled, his expression a mix of affection and something else, something harder to define. "I feel the same way. You make everything seem brighter, Emily." Yet even as they enjoyed their time together, Tyler's mind was preoccupied with his own secrets. The carefully constructed image he had created was beginning to fray at the edges, and he knew that it was only a matter of time before the truth came out. His past was a shadow that followed him, and despite his efforts to keep it hidden, the reality of his situation loomed over him. Back in Baxter Springs, Mark's unease was growing. He had begun his own discreet investigation, searching for any information that might shed light on Tyler's past. What he uncovered only deepened his concerns. Tyler had a criminal record, charges of theft and fraud that suggested a pattern of deceitful behavior. The more Mark learned, the more he became convinced that Tyler was not the person he claimed to be. With this knowledge, Mark faced a difficult choice. He could confront Emily with what he had discovered, potentially destroying her relationship and causing a rift in the family, or he could continue to observe and gather more evidence. Torn between his desire to protect his daughter and his fear of overstepping boundaries, Mark chose to proceed cautiously. In the days that followed, Mark's suspicion only grew stronger. He began to notice small inconsistencies in Tyler's stories and behavior, an odd phone call here, a hesitant response there. Each detail added to his growing conviction that Tyler was not who he appeared to be. The dinner with Tyler had been a small but crucial step in uncovering the truth. While Laura had been charmed by Tyler's demeanor, Mark's lingering doubts had set off a chain of events that would eventually lead to a shocking revelation. For now, the McAllister family remained unaware of the full extent of Tyler's deception, but the seeds of doubt had been planted, and the stage was set for a dramatic confrontation. As Emily continued to revel in her relationship with Tyler, she remained blissfully unaware of the storm brewing around her. The seemingly perfect world she inhabited was on the brink of collapse, and the truth about Tyler's dark past was about to come to light, shattering the illusions and revealing the harsh reality that lay hidden beneath the surface. 1 month after Emily McAllister and Tyler Grant had been seen together in the picturesque setting of the Baxter Springs Nature Reserve, a tragedy unfolded that would forever alter the lives of everyone involved. The serene autumn days, once filled with youthful romance and community events, turned dark and somber when Emily's lifeless body was discovered in her bedroom. The brutality of the crime shocked the town to its core. Emily had been the victim of a savage assault, a stark contrast to the peaceful image that the McAllister family had long projected. The discovery of Emily's body came on a crisp October morning. Laura McAllister had gone to check on her daughter, as Emily had been unusually quiet the previous evening. She had knocked on Emily's door, but when there was no response, she opened it to a sight that would haunt her forever. Emily lay on her bed, her body showing signs of a violent struggle. Laura's scream pierced the calm of the morning, setting off a chain reaction of panic and grief. The town of Baxter Springs, typically a place of simple routines and neighborly affection, was suddenly gripped by fear and sorrow. The McAllister family, once the epitome of happiness and stability, was now at the center of a horrific tragedy. The local community, stunned by the news, rallied around the family, offering condolences and support, though their sympathy was tinged with a sense of helplessness. As the police began their investigation, they quickly focused their attention on Tyler Grant. Witnesses came forward, reporting that Tyler had been seen leaving the McAllister home late into the night of Emily's murder. His presence at the scene, coupled with his known relationship with Emily, placed him squarely in the spotlight. The police delved into Tyler's past and unearthed his criminal record, which included several incidents of theft and deception. This revelation further fueled suspicion and cast a shadow over Tyler's character. Mark McAllister, overwhelmed by grief and anger, was desperate for answers. He felt a visceral need to understand how and why his daughter had been taken from him in such a brutal manner. The intensity of his emotions led him to confront Tyler directly. In a tense and highly charged interrogation, Mark faced Tyler with a mixture of rage and disbelief. Mark's voice was strained. "Why did you do this? What could Emily have possibly done to deserve this? Tell me why." Tyler, visibly distressed and with tears in his eyes, struggled to maintain his composure. "Mr. McAllister, I swear I didn't do this. I didn't hurt Emily. I would never. I can't even explain. It wasn't me." Despite his vehement denials, the evidence against Tyler seemed overwhelming. The police had discovered Tyler's fingerprints on the murder weapon, a bloody knife found at the scene of the crime. Additionally, incriminating messages on Tyler's phone suggested a level of intimacy with Emily that extended beyond a typical relationship. The combination of these factors led to Tyler being charged with Emily's murder. The town's media quickly seized upon the story, turning the case into a high-profile spectacle. Headlines blared with sensational details, and the once quiet streets of Baxter Springs were filled with reporters and cameras. The McAllister family was thrust into the public eye, their personal tragedy becoming fodder for the media circus. Mark and Laura were constantly hounded by questions and intrusive coverage, adding to their suffering during an already excruciating time. As Tyler's trial approached, the courtroom became the focal point of the community's anguish and curiosity. The evidence presented against Tyler was damning, with forensic experts detailing how his fingerprints matched those found on the murder weapon. Prosecutors painted a grim picture of Tyler as a calculating individual who had used his charm to get close to Emily before ultimately turning violent. Tyler's defense team struggled to counter the accusations. They argued that the evidence was circumstantial and that Tyler's past did not necessarily equate to guilt. They attempted to discredit the testimonies of witnesses and suggested that Tyler had been framed. Despite their efforts, the overwhelming evidence and the emotional weight of the case seemed to work against them. During the trial, Mark McAllister's emotional testimony was particularly powerful. His pain was palpable as he recounted the joy and pride he had felt for his daughter and his utter disbelief at the violence that had taken her from him. The courtroom was often silent, save for the sobs of Laura and the occasional murmur from the audience. As the trial progressed, the community of Baxter Springs watched with bated breath. The verdict seemed to hang in the balance, with everyone eagerly awaiting the outcome. The media frenzy only intensified, with each new development in the case making headlines. The town was divided, with some firmly believing in Tyler's guilt while others clung to the hope that the young man might be innocent. The culmination of the trial was a moment of intense drama. The jury, after hours of deliberation, returned with a verdict that would determine not only Tyler's fate but also the McAllister family's future. The atmosphere in the courtroom was electric with tension as the judge read the verdict aloud, the weight of the moment heavy with the knowledge that someone's life would be irrevocably changed by the outcome. In the end, the trial did little to bring closure to the McAllister family. The public spectacle and the relentless media attention only served to deepen their grief. The truth about Emily's death remained shrouded in a veil of uncertainty, leaving the community to grapple with their own questions and fears. The McAllister family's perfect world had been shattered, and the scars left by the tragedy would linger long after the trial concluded. As the trial of Tyler Grant drew to a close, anticipation in Baxter Springs reached a fever pitch. The courtroom was packed with spectators, their eyes fixed on the proceedings as the final arguments were presented. The prosecution had built a case against Tyler that seemed almost airtight, but just as the jury began their deliberations, a stunning revelation emerged, turning the case on its head. A forensic re-examination of the murder weapon, a knife found at the scene of Emily McAllister's death, uncovered an alarming discrepancy. New evidence indicated that the weapon had been tampered with. It appeared that someone had deliberately altered the knife to mislead the investigation. This critical twist suggested that Tyler Grant might not have been the true perpetrator. The implications of this new information were profound, and the courtroom was abuzz with speculation. As the revelations unfolded, the true nature of the crime began to surface. The intricate web of deceit and betrayal that had ensnared the McAllister family came into sharp focus. The shocking truth emerged: Laura McAllister, Emily's mother, had orchestrated the entire crime. Her involvement was driven by a desperate attempt to conceal her own dark secrets. Laura had been engaged in a clandestine affair with Tyler Grant. The relationship, which had started as a fling, had spiraled out of control. When Emily accidentally discovered evidence of the affair, Laura's fear of her daughter's potential exposure led her to make a devastating choice. In a moment of panic and desperation, Laura had fabricated the evidence to frame Tyler for the murder, hoping that by implicating him, she could protect her own reputation and keep her affair hidden. The courtroom was stunned into silence as Laura's confession came to light. Under the intense scrutiny of the trial, and with mounting evidence against her, Laura could no longer maintain her facade. In a dramatic turn of events, she broke down, her voice trembling with a mixture of guilt and anguish. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen," Laura cried, her tears streaming down her face. "I was scared, and I lost control. I thought I could keep everything together, but it all fell apart. Emily found out about Tyler and me, and I was terrified of what would happen if the truth came out. I thought framing Tyler would be the only way to protect my family and my secrets." The courtroom erupted in shock and disbelief. The revelation of Laura's actions shattered the town's perception of the McAllister family, exposing the dark underbelly of what had once been seen as an ideal household. Tyler Grant, once vilified and imprisoned by the weight of false accusations, was suddenly thrust back into the spotlight not as a murderer, but as an innocent man wrongfully accused. The damage done to Tyler's life was profound. The trauma of being wrongfully accused, the media frenzy, and the public humiliation had left deep scars. Even with his exoneration, he faced an uphill battle to rebuild his life and reputation. The betrayal and manipulation that had ensnared him were difficult to overcome, and the emotional toll of the entire ordeal was immense. For the McAllister family, the aftermath of the trial was a period of painful reckoning. The perfect veneer of suburban life had been irreparably shattered, leaving Mark and Laura to confront the ramifications of their choices. The community, reeling from the shock of the revelations, struggled to process the betrayal and deceit that had unfolded within their midst. Baxter Springs, once a town defined by its close-knit community and tranquil lifestyle, was left grappling with the fallout of the case. The impact of the trial extended far beyond the courtroom, affecting the lives of everyone involved. The town's trust in the McAllister family was deeply shaken, and the emotional scars left by the case would linger long after the headlines faded. In the end, the McAllister family story became a cautionary tale, a chilling reminder of how secrets and lies can unravel, even the most seemingly perfect lives. The tragedy of Emily's death, coupled with the shocking betrayal by her own mother, left an indelible mark on Baxter Springs. The case served as a stark reminder of the fragility of human relationships and the often hidden darkness that can lie behind a facade in normalcy. As this chapter of Baxter Springs history drew to a close, the community was left to pick up the pieces and come to terms with the truth. The McAllister family's journey from the heights of suburban bliss to the depths of personal and public scandal was a somber testament to the complexities of human nature and the often blurred lines between innocence and guilt. And so concludes this haunting tale of betrayal and murder. Join us next time as we delve into another true crime story, where the boundaries of right and wrong are often obscured, and the search for justice takes unexpected turns.